First up on the show, Israel's security cabinet has updated its official goals amid the ongoing war with Hamas in Gaza and the fear of an escalation with the Iran-backed Hezbollah. It is now including a fourth objective, the safe return of the residents of the north to their homes. The decision was approved during an overnight meeting of the security cabinet, and the Prime Minister's office said in a statement, until now the official war goals have been the elimination of Hamas's military and governing capabilities, the return of all the hostages, and ensuring that Gaza no longer poses a threat to Israel. Now, talking about the newest addition to the list, the PMO said Israel will continue to achieve this goal. Both Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant have publicly stated their intentions to add the return of evacuees to the official list of their war objectives. Now, according to the Knesset Research and Information Center, approximately 8,500 people have been evacuated from the northern frontier in the 11 months of the near daily exchange of fire between Israel and Hezbollah. The change to the war goals comes as the U.S. Special Envoy visits Israel in an attempt to reach a diplomatic solution and avoid further escalation. And joining us to talk more about this is James Marlowe, foreign and defense analyst and expert on West Asia. He joins us on the broadcast from Israel. And James Marlowe, thanks very much indeed for talking to us this afternoon. Let me begin by asking you, we're almost a year from the October 7th attacks. How far or how closer is Israel to its reaching its objectives and, of course, securing its border regions, particularly the one from where this attack happened?
Good afternoon. It's good to be with you. Well, there were 24 Hamas battalions across Gaza. The military believe that it has destroyed all 24 of those battalions, but nevertheless, there have been breakaways from those battalions who've been trying to get up north and elsewhere in southern Gaza, Khan Yunis, and out towards the humanitarian areas. And that's the reason why there's still very intense fighting taking place in many places in the south and in some pockets within the north, because terrorists are breaking away from the south and making their way back up in the north. Now, one of the things that the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, have done is actually take control of a route which is called Philadelphia Corridor. Now, that is a small piece of land just north of the Egyptian border, and that is a piece of land that is now in control by the Israelis. Now, the reason why they've taken control of this is because still during the last few months, a huge amount of arms was still coming in from northern Sinai, which is Egypt, into the Gaza Strip, obviously stocking up the missiles and the ammunition that the Israelis were destroying from Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and several other fighting groups. So the Palestinians are demanding that the Israelis leave that area called Philadelphia so they can then take control of it themselves. And in response, they may release some more hostages. However, the 101 that are still left, Israel is asking for the names of those hostages, the condition of those hostages, and would they be alive? And that's where Hamas says that they will not give any answers on that whatsoever, but they're demanding that the Israelis withdraw, and then they will start to talk about the specifics of that particular deal. And that's the reason why Israel stays in Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Right, of course. Well, that's what the Israeli government is saying. But of course, Philadelphia remains a contentious issue within, the Netanyahu cabinet itself. Not everyone is on board with that. And the Americans are telling the Israelis again and again that the time is, reducing. The possibility of a truce for ceasefire deal, a hostage for ceasefire deal, is narrowing by the day. Is the Netanyahu government paying heed to that?
Well, here in Israel, there is it is quite divisive. It's fair to say before October the 7th, there was a huge amount of dissatisfaction with the Netanyahu government, but that has been going on for many, many years, simply because there was an election, it's now 2 years ago, and the centre to right, with two right-wing parties and two religious parties, managed to get the overall majority and form a government. And the government stays in power for 4 years, unless, of course, the coalition falls. So there's always going to be opposition. And even if there was a general election tomorrow, which there's not going to be, and there probably won't be one this year, probably not next year, but we'll have to see. A lot of things can change. But even if there was a general election and the Netanyahu government was to win again, you'd still have many people coming out on the streets demonstrating. And that's fine. That's their democratic right to do that, providing they do it within the law. But these groups that you're seeing on the streets, especially on a Saturday night, it's not just one group. One of them, the main group, is called the Hostage Family Forum organization, which is the largest group. But there are 3 other groups of which families have hostages still inside of Gaza. And by the way, it's important to say that one of those groups, less well known, but one of those groups is actually calling upon the government to actually go full force against Hamas and destroy them completely, along with Islamic Jihad and the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Mujahideen, the groups associated with ISIS as well, which have gone into Gaza from Egypt. So there is a different amount of opinion, but the government still holds by with 64 seats. Yeah,
but James Marlowe, many would disagree with your assessment of that, given the fact that it's protests on the ground. There are, at any number, at any given point, over thousands of people on the streets demanding there be a hostage deal as soon as possible. There is, of course, there are murmurs of discontent from within the government of the Netanyahu cabinet, and of course, as you pointed out, that this government is not going anywhere as of now. Elections are not happening, but doesn't it serve Netanyahu's purpose to stay in the war for his own political benefit? And if you were to point out the objectives of this war, we haven't reached any of them in the last 11 months.
Well, there's a number of things over there, so let me just try and unpack a couple of them. Firstly, you mentioned many would disagree right at the beginning of that question. I have to tell you, I'm in the center of the country, and I was in Jerusalem yesterday, and a huge amount of people support this government. More along the Tel Aviv and along the coast, it's more left-wing. But you certainly have, the Netanyahu government has a huge amount of support, especially in the area which I'm in at the moment, which is in Samaria, as I head back towards Jerusalem later on today. So it depends where you are in the country. And an election poll took place about a week ago. So it does say that the Likud party, led by Netanyahu, would lose a number of seats. Right now, they've got 32 seats out of the 120-seat Knesset. It would go down to between 20 to 22, but it's still the most popular party. Whether he could put a coalition together is something else. There's no sign of an election until October 2026. But the other parties, one of them led by Benny Gantz, also got less seats, 19. Yair Lapid also got, I think it was in the survey, 17 or 18 seats. So the country is very much split. But I can tell you, I speak with a lot of families who have hostages still inside of Gaza, and those who've got them out. Also recently, sadly, unfortunately for all of us, dead bodies. And I can tell you that there is a difference of opinion over there. Some of them say, do anything that you can to get out the remaining hostages, which means for the IDF to leave Gaza. And others say, no, if you do that, there's no guarantee that Hamas will, through those tunnels, take those remaining hostages through the tunnels, get them into northern Egypt. From Egypt, you get over to Libya, and then they could find those hostages ending up in Tehran or elsewhere in Iran. And once that happens, they're gone. So that's the reason why some people in Israel say Israelis cannot leave the Philadelphia route.
Right. Well, 101 hostages remain with the Hamas. 40,000 people are dead on the other side. We'll certainly hope that Israel is meeting its objectives soon, because we're 11 months into this war and it looks like a no-win solution at the moment. James Marlowe, thanks very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.